already announced that we're going to use Psalm 65 together during these devotions, and I invite you to have a copy of it ready to participate in. I'm going to use an occasion from evangelical Lutheran worship. There are a number of occasions listed in the front portion of evangelical Lutheran worship. Among them are a day of penitence, a national holiday, New Year's Eve, but today the occasion I want to lift up is the harvest. And in focusing on the dimensions of harvest, I'm going to read the assigned Old Testament reading for the occasion of the harvest. It's Deuteronomy 26, verses 1 through 11. Hear the word of the Lord. When you have come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess, and you possess it and settle in it, you shall take some of the first of all the fruit of the ground, which you harvest from the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and you shall put it in a basket and go to the place that the Lord your God will choose as a dwelling for his name. You shall go to the priest who is in the office at that time and say, today I declare to the Lord your God that I have come into the land that the Lord swore to give our ancestors to give us. When the priest takes the basket from your hand and sets it down before the altar of the Lord your God, you shall make this response before the Lord your God. A wandering Aramean was my ancestor. He went down into Egypt and lived there as an alien, few in number. And there he became a great nation, mighty and populous. When the Egyptians treated us harshly and afflicted us by imposing hard labor on us, we cried to the Lord, the God of our ancestors. The Lord heard our voice and saw our affliction, our toil, and our oppression. The Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with a terrifying display of power and with signs and wonders, and he brought us into this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So now I bring the first of the fruit of the ground that you, O Lord, have given me. You shall set it down before the Lord your God and bow down before the Lord your God. And then you, together with the Levites and the aliens who reside among you, shall celebrate with all the bounty that the Lord your God has given to you and to your house. The word of the Lord. Please join me in observing this occasion of the harvest by reading Psalm 65. You are to be praised, O God, in Zion. To you shall vows be fulfilled. To you, the one who answers prayer, to you all flesh shall come. Our sins are stronger than we are, but you blot out our transgressions. Happy are they whom you choose and draw to your courts to dwell there. They will be satisfied by the beauty of your house, by the holiness of your temple. awesome things will you show us in your righteousness, O God of our salvation, O hope of all the ends of the earth and of the oceans far away. You make firm the mountains by your power. You are girded about with might. You still the roaring of the seas, the roaring of their waves, and the clamor of the peoples. Those who dwell at the ends of the earth will tremble at your marvelous signs. You make the dawn and the dusk to sing for joy. You visit the earth and water it abundantly. You make it very plenteous. The river of God is full of water. You prepare the grain, for so you provide for the earth. You drench the furrows and smooth out the ridges. With heavy rain, you soften the ground and bless its increase. You crown the year with your goodness, and your paths overflow with plenty. May the fields of the wilderness be rich for grazing, and the hills be clothed with joy. May the meadows cover themselves with flocks, and the valleys cloak themselves with grain. Let them shout for joy and sing. As I thought about the implications of harvest, one of the thoughts that came to my mind had to do with our responsibility to the creation, from which the bounty that fills our life and offers us nourishment comes. And so I went back to the social statement of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America that was adopted in 1993. It's called Caring for Creation, Vision, Hope, and Justice. And I looked through that so that my appreciation for the harvest could be as full as possible. And I found it to be a deeply satisfying and rewarding experience to go through that social statement. Again, let me just lift up a few things from that social statement, because I offer it to you as a way in which your observance of the harvest, however that occurs in these weeks, can be enriched. This social statement looks deeply at how all of us as Christians, and especially we as the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, but we in particular as Lutheran believers, live responsibly in the context of the creation that God has provided us. I want to read just a piece from a part of the social statement entitled Our Place in Creation. Humans in service to God have special roles on behalf of the whole creation. Made in the image of God, we are called to care for the earth as God cares for the earth. God's command to have dominion and subdue the earth is not a license to dominate and exploit. Human dominion, a special responsibility, should reflect God's way of ruling as a shepherd king who takes the form of a servant wearing a crown of thorns. According to Genesis 2:15, our role within creation is to serve and to keep God's garden, the earth. To serve, often translated to till, invites us again to envision ourselves as servants, while to keep invites us to take care of the earth as God keeps and cares for us. At another place, this social statement describes what it calls the current crisis. And I remind you that these words were adopted in 1993. Listen to how poignant they are in 2020. The earth is a planet of beauty and abundance. The earth system is wonderfully intricate and incredibly complex. But today, living creatures and the air, soil, and water that support them find unprecedented threats. Many threats are global. Most stem directly from human activity. Our current practices may so alter the living world that it will be unable to sustain life in the manner we know it. And finally, within the statement, something I want to lift up for you, for your congregations. It's a part called, as a worshiping and learning community, the congregation has a role to place as a creation awareness center. A creation awareness center. Each congregation, it reads, should see itself as a center for exploring scriptural and theological foundations for caring for creation. Awareness can be furthered by many already in our midst. For example, Native people who often have a special understanding of human intimacy with the earth. Scientists and engineers and technicians who help us to live by the wisdom of God in creation. Experts in conservation and protection of the environment, and those who tend the land and the sea. We also will learn from people suffering the severe impact of environmental degradation. At this time of the harvest and our awareness of it, I lift up to you the 1993 social statement entitled Caring for Creation, Vision, Hope, and Justice, a resource for you and a resource for your congregation. And I want to share with you just a few personal thoughts about harvest. That time in nature's cycle for the gathering in of the fruits of the earth, first sown in the ground months ago. Harvest, that time that we begin to offer the soil some peace and quiet. There's a brisk, stimulating chill in the air that invigorates the harvest. There are polychromed forests that cloak the bustle of the harvest. Gathering the last of the yield is now taking place. Gathering the last, the apples, the pumpkins, the squash, the chestnuts, the hardest of the harvest. To you, sisters and brothers, siblings in Christ Jesus, I confess that polychrome cloaked harvest thoughts have been coloring my pre-retirement days. Polychromed harvest thoughts, nurtured by Scripture's insights about the fullness of time begun in my baptism, about the caring, the keeping, the loving of the soil and the seed and the water and the lush vegetation that beautifies the earth upon which I walk. polychromed harvest thoughts about the autumnal stewardship of that which is bestowed by grace and ordained by the church to be mine. 2020's harvest occasion instills in me those lessons now getting ripe with comfort. Perhaps because of the Pennsylvania German blood that flows in my Rex Dreibelbeest genes, I find myself thankful for the toil. That toil is just about done for me now. I will retire, stimulated by a brisk chill in my spirit. Grateful, yes, ready for the peace and the quiet that lie ahead for the soil and for me. Let us pray. O Lord, maker of all things, you open your hand and satisfy the desire of every living creature. We praise you for the crowning of the fields with your blessings and for enabling us once more to gather in the fruits of the earth. Teach us to use your gifts carefully, that our land may continue to yield its increase. Through Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen. A bountiful harvest to you, siblings in Christ Jesus. Well, we are gathered for what I anticipate will be our final synod-wide Zoom meeting for the sake of preparing for Online Assembly 2020. I see this as an opportunity for the planning team to share information about participation in the online assembly as part of the commitment that the planning team made to offer a channel of information intended to assist with the online platform in this year's assembly. And for the planning team to be available to respond to questions that may have arisen as people have already begun to learn how to participate in Assembly 2020. Members of the team are here and prepared to share with you the steps that have been taken since our last online pre-assembly Zoom meeting. And we'll have time after their presentations for any questions that you may have. You can raise your hand using your Zoom platform. And in the course of their presentations, you are welcome to type into the chat feature any questions that you have, and we can pick them up either during their presentation, if necessary, but certainly at the end when it's time for questions. We're going to begin with the matter of registration. And the reason we're doing that is, in terms of the harvest, today is the final harvest of the registrations. And Debbie Fry, administrative assistant to me, will talk more about that. So Debbie.
Thank you,
Please.
Bishop Zeiser.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone. So like Bishop Zeiser said, today is October 1st. And when we set that as the registration deadline for the assembly, it seemed like it was so far away, but here we are. As of this morning, there are 505 people registered. And thank you to all for being willing to participate in this new assembly experience. If you haven't registered, you have until midnight tonight to get it done online. If you will be doing that today, you'll need to pay with a credit card since there is no time to mail checks anymore. And when the clock strikes midnight tonight, that registration form online will disappear. If you want to drop your registration and check off at the Synod office, we'll be here until 4:30 this afternoon for you to do that. All you have to do is ring the bell at the front door. Also, if you have registered but you haven't paid, those checks, if you haven't mailed them, should be dropped off at the Synod office today. Thank you for understanding that for the planning committee to be as ready as possible for this assembly, we cannot take any registrations after today. I plan to mail the rest of the confirmation letters tomorrow. We all know that the postal workers have quite a bit on their plates right now, so please be patient. But if you don't receive your confirmation by Tuesday the 13th, leave me a message or send me an email, and I'll make sure to get your username to you before the voting platform opens the next day, the 14th, at 3 o'clock for testing. You will need your password and username to participate. The password is the same for everyone. It's NEPS 2020, and some of you may have used that to get on to today's meeting. And your username will be a 4-digit number, and that will be unique to you. You will need both of those things to sign in to the voting platform to get onto the assembly. So, as always, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Debbie. We'll follow up with any questions at the question and answer period, unless, Michael, you see something that needs to be addressed immediately. Okay. In the spirit of the harvest, some of you will be gathering in watch parties to participate in the assembly. Pastor Paul Braden is now going to talk about what those watch parties are meant to be.
Thank you, Bishop Zeiser. Mike, if you'd put the slide up for me, we have some bullet points for people to watch. Let me start by saying a number of people have already registered as watch parties, and I just want to define for you what a watch party is. Let me start by what a watch party is not. If, say, a pastor and 2 delegates gather in a large room at the church, but they each have their own laptop computer, that's not a watch party. That's 3 voting members who happen to occupy the same space, much as in an in-person assembly, the pastor and delegates might sit together at a table. A watch party is 3 or more voting members in one place who are using one computer or laptop to watch the assembly. And in that case, each voting member also needs to have a device to vote on, a smartphone or a tablet. Others, if you're there, can certainly watch, but only the voting members can vote and speak. And this is important. There will be particular instructions for watch parties. And so we ask that each watch party have a manager. That is somebody who will be responsible to make sure that the watch party works okay. And we ask that person to please contact Debbie Fry with your name and email. Just a reminder, her email is debbie@nepsynod.org. If your watch party has only 2 voting members, that's okay, but let Debbie know who's in charge. And the final point there is that there will be particular training for watch managers, and it's not available yet, but soon on the website there will be specific instructions of how to participate as a watch party. So Pastor Krista Forrest will give you a lot more technical information a bit later in the meeting, but it's really important that if you're going to be a watch party, you let Debbie know as soon as possible, because it's important to get that training. It's important for us and Lumi and the people who are managing the online assembly to know what those watch parties are going to be well ahead of time. I think that's all I have. Thank you, Bishop.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, we can respond to questions later unless there is a question in the chat box at this time, and there doesn't seem to be. Next, some matters regarding worship. And Deacon Michael Krentz is with us to address those matters. I believe Michael is still with us.
Yes, thank you, Bishop. Just real quickly, everybody, I want to encourage you or invite you to be sure to join in our worship our major worship service for this assembly, which is at 6 p.m. on Friday the 16th. And if you come in early to make sure your technology is working properly, we'll be having music as part of the gathering time, probably for about 15 minutes before 6 o'clock. The service itself will be a service of the word with Bishop Zeiser preaching, and we're taking advantage of technology. We're incorporating some videos from different places in the synod, so you'll get to see worship leaders in their own place, not all standing up on a stage, constructed in a ballroom. I'm looking forward to that. And it will all be inside the envelope of a live Zoom worship experience. So we think it's going to be worshipful, I guess is the best word for it, and hope that you all will come and help make it so. There is another event then on that first Friday evening on the agenda, and that is the celebration or recognition of the anniversaries, the 50th anniversary of the ordination of women, 40th anniversary of the ordination of women of color, and 10th anniversary of the removal of the impediments for LGBTQIA plus people to be ordained. And Becca Middicky Conlon and I, but mostly Becca, have been working on that. And so Becca is going to spend a couple minutes talking to you about it.
Thank you, Mike. At Churchwide Assembly last year, we had this fabulous service in which all of the female pastors who were in attendance were able to vest and process in the beginning of the service. And we were hoping to recreate that this year at Synod Assembly. However, we cannot because of COVID. So instead, we are putting together a video, and I've been collecting pictures of anyone who is part of the 50-40-10 celebration. So whether you are a pastor who identifies as female or LGBTQIA+, please get me a picture along with how you prefer your name to be on the video and your ordination date. They can be pictures from your ordination. They can be action shots of something that you are doing. I've got some great pictures of, and they have brought me so much life looking at them, of, I think my absolute favorite is of Phyllis Wolkenhauer in a boat in dry land for things we do for Vacation Bible School. So please get those pictures to me. You can email them to me at Pastor Becca, B-E-C-C-A, M as in Mary, C as in cat, @gmail.com. Or if you have a picture on Facebook, tag me in the comments and I'll use that picture as well. That works too. So.
Becca, maybe you could put that in the chat, your email address.
Will do.
Thank you, Bishop. I believe that's all from us.
Thank you both for your helpful insights. We're going to go back to Pastor Paul Braden, who is going to be talking about how the website and the Assembly homepage will take on greater significance as these synod-wide Zoom meetings in anticipation of the Assembly come to an end. Paul.
Yes, thank you. Mike, if you can put up on the screen then the homepage of the website. I just want to explain to you that we're trying to make access as simple as possible. And you scroll down just a little bit, Mike, so they can see the boxes. There we go. There are three very obvious boxes right near the top of the home page. Well, let me start with the one on the far right, watch the Assembly live. Obviously, that will only work when Assembly starts. If you click on it now, it just takes you to a page that reminds you it'll start when it's live. This is mainly for non-voting members, but you can certainly tell folks in your congregation. One of the advantages of online Assembly is that everybody can watch the Assembly. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to pay a registration fee. All you have to do is click on that box and you can watch all of the Assembly live. The middle one, voting members link, again, that's not live yet, but it will become live beginning when the testing sessions start. And when you want to log in, that's all you have to do is go to the home page and click on that, and that will take you to the Lumi login. Now the Assembly page, if you'd click on that, Mike, and take us to the Assembly page. This is primarily to use in preparation for the Assembly. The first section is going to disappear after today. So the next part, dates and times, this lists all the times of the assembly. And as we continue down, it also lists the times of the testing and training. Again, Pastor Chris DeForest will talk more about this later. You'll also see, in reference to my earlier discussion, there'll be special training for the watch party managers. And that's important too. How to log in and participate. You'll be seeing later in this meeting the Lumi training video, but you can watch it and again as many times as you'd like by clicking on this link. And if you know of delegates who aren't able to watch the meeting today, this is where the training video can be accessed. There's a detailed instruction sheet. You received the hard copy of that with your registration confirmation, but it's also available online. And then again, the voting member link is here as well. Obviously, it doesn't work at this point, but you really don't have to come to this page. You can access that right on the home page. Important here, if you need help for contact, conference@nepsynod.org is the email address to use. And then below, just to recommend, reminding people who are visitors that you just click on the live stream button and you can watch all the sessions. And again, that's available on the home page, so you don't really have to come to this page for that. Then Mike, if you can go back up so they can see the sidebar. Yeah, there we go. Again, the first obviously just takes you back to the home page. The schedule shows what we would call the agenda. It's the schedule of things. Just dropping down the speakers right now, the only one I have listed there is our churchwide representative, Mr. Bill Horn. Donate is important. There are two offerings at Synod. One is World Hunger and the other is a Fund for Leaders, and you can access those with the donate button when you need to. Then finally, documents. So maybe click on that one if you would, Mike.
I don't see documents.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
I was going.
These documents will be available on the Lumi page during a Synod assembly itself, so you don't have to worry about leaving the Lumi screen and coming to our website to find these. But if you want to look at anything ahead of time, the bulletin reports and the various individual reports have been pulled out of that for easier reference. These are all available now, as well as the proposed spending plan and the proposed compensation guidelines, nominations, biographical information on people who are running. There aren't resolutions up yet, but they will be shortly. And you can still, of course, submit resolutions through this page. So that's just a quick tour of the website and how to use it in preparation for Assembly 2020. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Pastor Chris DeForest is next, and he's going to provide us one more overview of the technology involved. Chris.
Hello, everyone. The Lumi video, which I believe we're going to show here in a bit, will kind of walk you through the specifics, but nothing has really changed from the standpoint of you, if you are a part of the meeting, you are engaged through a laptop or a computer desktop, and that is how is the primary way that you watch the assembly, that you hear the assembly, that you're able to speak and you're able to vote. If you are two people in a room, you can use, and you're both voting members, you can use the laptop to watch and speak, and you can have a second person voting and asking to speak on a device. And when I say device, I mean a smartphone or a tablet. In other words, an iPhone or an iPad if you're an Apple person. The desktop or the laptop should be able to be connected to the internet well enough that you use it for Zoom regularly. If you're getting a clear Zoom signal and you're able to talk and your video is able to be seen, that internet connection and that equipment will work fine, will work well. If you are, that's pretty much it. I mean, that will get you the proper bandwidth that you need to do things. And while the meeting is running, bandwidth becomes less of an issue than your normal Zoom videos, because all the video signals will be off unless a person has raised their hand to speak and is being given the floor to speak. So you won't have the challenge you often worry about in large meetings of having 500 video signals all up at once. The video will primarily be just of the program itself, and that's what you'll be watching and listening to that time. And everyone else will have their mics muted and their videos turned off. I won't go into details about how that works because we've got great training materials to show you that, and they'll be very much accessible to you the whole time. Also, it's a little different for watch parties, and those instructions will be available as well, all of which is meant to make this run smoothly for you. And as you have questions, if a technology is a concern, we will be testing all of that. First of all, let me address a question that's come up about several times to our emails to me as a help desk. People have gotten their Lumi link, the link to the Lumi page, and they go in and they see that they can enter their username and password, and they do that, and it doesn't work. And it looks like, you know, that people worry then, does my connection really work? The thing to share with people and to be aware of yourself is that that only works when Lumi is live, running. And that means when we're testing, when we're training, or when there's a one of the 5 live plenary sessions. So it won't work until that first training session, which is actually an open period of time. You will see on Wednesday that there's a time from Wednesday, the 14th of October, there's a period of time from 6 p.m. or from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. In that whole 3-hour period of time, what a voting member could do is go click on that Lumi link. They'll then see the username and password. They'll be able to enter it in, and a screen will come up saying, it's working perfectly, you've connected. There's nothing to do because there's no live meeting on that Wednesday. There's just an opportunity to make sure that your email, your password, and your username worked for you and you were able to enter it in. That's the whole purpose of that 3-hour block of time. It should take most people a minute to get that done. But if they do have problems, that's when they would email or click on the bottom of the screen. On that very Lumi screen, there's a need help, click. And then they can go, I can't log in, my credentials aren't working. And our help team will be standing by to immediately respond and walk people through troubleshooting to make sure that their credentials do work. That's the entire purpose of that 3-hour block of time on Wednesday. 3 hours being convenient for people over a period of time, at a window when it's open. It will then open up and run again at 7 p.m. on the next day, Thursday, the 15th of October, when we have a half-hour orientation session. And at that half hour on Thursday, we recommend as many voting members as possible be on that so that we can work together. Our entire crew and everyone assembled to work on this will be there in that half hour to provide a walkthrough for everyone about how the signal works and how voting works and how speaking works. And we'll do it in a live way. It's a live version of the video that you will also be able to watch at any time. We will record that Thursday meeting, however, for people who cannot make 7 p.m. on Thursday, the 15th of October. And then after that, we'll be ready to begin the assembly the next day. And as you see, we built full 24-hour periods between these to really address any tech challenges or problems that people have so that we're not cramming everything into one day to try to get it all set. And that will move us forward from there. So please let your people know, and you know as well, the Lumi link with your password and your username doesn't work yet. That doesn't mean it's broken. It's just not live yet. And they'll have a chance to test that on the 14th. Should I mention here about how we're helping people with visual impairment here?
Yes.
Bishop. So we are also we have two things to tell you about. First, persons with visual impairment or low vision. And second of all, persons who are deaf or have difficulty hearing. Let me start with visual impairment. One of the best way to address this is to ask people who have visual impairment to have someone to help them to do their voting when the voting occurs. So that person at a watch party could potentially have someone nearby that could help them vote. Or if they are attending the assembly in their home, have a caregiver or a family member be in the house, and you can call them over during voting moments. Most of the time, they won't need to hang out with them and watch the whole assembly. They can do other work and do other things in the house or the facility. But in those voting moments, someone can come in and walk the person through the voting. So that it's very self-evident how the voting works once you're logged in. But if you want to have that caregiving person understand voting as well, they can be present for our Thursday night session, and they can certainly take advantage of all of our training, which will all be online and open to everyone at all times. So that's for persons with visual impairment or low vision. For persons who are deaf or have difficulty hearing, we intend to do closed captioning within the Zoom window that we have. And there will be a button within the Zoom screen for you to click on closed captioning. It won't automatically come up at this point. I'm pretty certain of that. I'll know that for certain after we get all of it lined up, but we are going to have closed captioning available to those who need it. And that will be covered wall to wall during the plenary sessions, including when there's video recordings, et cetera, to help people with those impairments to be able to participate in the assembly. The help desk is converting over from my email address to conference at nepsynod.org. And I think that's correct. It's on anything I say, double check on the website because it's correct there. And so you'll be able to submit, and your voting members will be able to submit questions or concerns, and we will get back. Our return times have been within the hour on everything that we've gotten in so far, and we will stay in that mode as well. And again, with the overall idea of grace and mercy amongst us, patience as we work on a new thing, but I am very proud of the team that the Synod's assembled, that the Bishop and Kurt and Mike have collected. We are going to really knock this out of the ballpark. As I watch all these things appear and hear everybody present, I'm like, what a great team we're on. I feel excited that we're able to do this well. So feel free to send those questions in that you have. We're going to be adding a frequently asked questions page, or it'll continue on the home page, depending on the number of questions that we have. We already have a list of 7 or 8. We'll probably put a few more on. They're not on yet, but we'll have them up by next week. So as good questions come in, people will be able to do those as we go. And that will hopefully capture everything that we need to address your questions and concerns throughout this event. That's what I've got.
Are you kicking the video into motion for us?
I think that I gave it over to Mike, and I'm the backup if the technology at that end is.
Do you want to just, Chris, if you could just give a brief statement about it.
So setting up a clip for my new movie. Yeah, so this is a video that will show from top to bottom how a voting member sets up their configuration, the equipment that they have, describes the browser that's recommended, and then describes how to vote and to speak. This parallels written directions that you will have on the homepage for the assembly. So for those who are written visual learners, they will have that. The video, they can't go in and do yet, but they'll be able to look at it and imagine how it works. And if you have any questions about that, please put those in the chat. The video won't change, but we'll be able to put answers to things in the frequently asked questions for people to make sure that we address any confusion that might be out there for people who do this. So this video runs about 10 minutes, but it will probably let you, it will raise some questions you might have, and feel free to put those in chat, and we'll either address them here or we'll get you the answers right out if we need to look something up for you.
Are you ready for the video, Chris?
Yes, let's play that clip.
Welcome to an overview of the Lumi virtual platform. To fully take part in the virtual assembly, you will be required to use either a laptop computer or a desktop computer with speakers and a microphone. To watch, listen, and vote in the meeting, all current web browsers are supported: Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, and Safari. If you plan to speak, watch, listen, and vote during the virtual assembly, only Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge are supported. To begin, just go to the Synod website, love.org. On the home page, you will find the link to the Lumi virtual platform. Click the link and you will go to the login page for the Lumi virtual platform. To log in, you will need to type in your username, which is unique to you, and the meeting password. You can find your username in your confirmation letter, which will be mailed to you after registering. The password, which is the same for all voting members, is NEPS 2020, all lowercase. Type in your username into the top box and the password in the lower box. Keep in mind the password is case sensitive. Once logged into the Lumi platform, you will see general information on the left and the Zoom meeting will automatically open on the right. In order to hear and speak during the virtual assembly, it is important that you perform the following 2 steps. Step number 1, you must join computer audio by clicking the blue button that says Join Audio by Computer. This allows you to hear the audio of the meeting. Step 2, you must give your web browser access to your microphone. When you click the Join Audio by Computer button, you will get a pop-up from your web browser asking for permission to use your microphone. In Chrome, this pop-up appears at the top left of the screen close to the address bar. Click Allow to allow your browser access to your microphone. Now that you're logged into Lumi and can see and hear the Zoom meeting, let's talk about the left side of the screen. The main screen is the information screen. It will confirm your first and last name and will have some basic information on how to use the virtual platform. To view the resource documents, click on the document icon located in the top bar. Then select the document you would like to view. Once you are finished reading the document, simply click on the eye icon to go back to the information screen. Speaking during the virtual assembly is a 3-step process. Step 1 is to join the speaker queue. All voting members can request to speak by joining the speaker queue. To join the queue, click the chat bubble icon located in the top menu bar. Type in what you would like to speak about in the text box at the bottom of the screen. You will see a legend of what options you should type in on your screen. press the send arrow located to the right of your message, and you will receive a quick confirmation message that says Received. You have now completed the first step and joined the queue. If called on to speak by the presider, step 2 is to raise your hand in Zoom. Raising your hand in Zoom will make it easier for our production team to find you in the list of attendees and prompt you to unmute your microphone. To raise your hand in Zoom, go to the Zoom panel on the right side of the screen and open the Participants panel by clicking on the Participants button. You will find the Raise Hand button at the bottom of the participant list. Click the button to raise your hand. Once you have raised your hand in Zoom, you will be prompted by the host to unmute your microphone. Step 3 is to unmute your microphone by clicking on the blue button that says Unmute Myself in the pop-up prompt window received from the host. Then announce yourself and begin speaking. Please be aware if you raise your hand in Zoom but do not enter the speaker queue by typing your intention to speak, you will not be acknowledged. So please do not raise your hand in Zoom unless you are asked to do so by the presider. The left side of the platform is where you will cast your ecclesiastical ballot, vote on elections, motions, and regular business. When asked to cast your ecclesiastical first ballot for bishop, you must click on the ballot icon in the top menu bar to access the ballot. The first ballot will not automatically appear. To cast your ballot, you must click the Send button after each entry. In the first field, you will enter last name of the person for whom you are nominating. Then click Send. In the second field, type in the first name of the person for whom you are nominating. Then click Send. In the third field, type in the current call of the person for whom you are nominating. Then click Send. In the fourth field, type in the currently residing city and state of the person you are nominating. Then click Send. In the fifth field, if that person is from outside our synod, type in their email address if you know it, then click Send. If you need to change a response, click the Cancel button and resend your submission. After the closing of the ballot, your nomination will be collected and you will be taken back to the information screen. When asked to vote on later bishop election ballots, the ballot will automatically appear on the left side of the Lumi platform when the presider opens the vote. To vote, click on your choice and it will be highlighted. You will see a confirmation message that the vote has been received. If you would like to change your vote, simply select a different choice. You can change your vote as many times as required until the voting is closed. Once voting is closed, you will not be able to make another selection, and only the last selection is counted. When asked to vote on elections for other offices, motions, or other business, the vote will also automatically appear on the left side of the Lumi platform. Vote in the same manner by clicking on your choice and it will be highlighted. You will see a confirmation message that the vote has been received. If you would like to change your vote, simply make another choice. As before, you can change your vote as many times as required until the voting is closed. Once voting is closed, you will not be able to make another selection, and only the last selection is counted. Here are 3 pro tips. Pro tip number 1. Keep your cameras off. We are asking everyone to keep your webcams turned off during the meeting. If you mistakenly turn your camera on, we will turn your camera off. If you are called on to speak, you may turn on your camera if you wish, but please note you will have to allow your browser access to your camera in the same manner that you allowed your browser access to your microphone. Pro tip number 2, maximize Zoom by using the maximize icon in the top bar. The Zoom panel can be maximized by clicking on the maximize icon in the top bar, as you can see here. To go back to a normal view, simply click the navigation bar again. Please do not use the full screen icon in the Zoom panel. If you've used Zoom full screen by using this icon, it is very difficult to access the Lumi platform, and voting for elections, motions, and other business will not automatically appear. If you do mistakenly press the full screen icon in Zoom, you can simply press the escape key to return to the normal view. Pro tip number 3, web browser Zoom settings. If you do not see the Zoom window, or if your Lumi and Zoom windows are not side by side, it is likely that your web browser is zoomed in too much. For the best viewing experience, the browser zoom setting should be set somewhere between 80% and 110%. To change your browser settings in Chrome, click on the small 3 dots that are in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Your zoom percentage is in the middle of the menu, and you can either decrease or increase the percentage using the minus and the plus buttons. This concludes the overview of the Lumi platform. We are looking forward to a successful meeting.
Maybe Paul would say a few words about why that appeared blurry on the screen, but will not appear blurry when you watch the link from the website.
Yeah, sure, Mike. The problem with Zoom is when you put a video over Zoom, sometimes it doesn't come through very well, but I showed you earlier on the assembly page of the website, those links are all there. The link to the Zoom, to the Lumi training is there, and as long as you have a decent internet connection where you are, you'll get a clear video, not the blurry one we saw on Zoom.
Thank you.
I might also just mention, so no one's confused, the home page they show in the video is not the current home page. They did this video a while back, and it's difficult to change it once it's done, so we just let it go through the way it is. But the home page is as I showed you earlier.
The question was raised, what if you don't know the address of the person you are nominating on the first ballot? Ed, would you like to speak to that?
Look, let me say briefly, give as much information as you have. We will try to find out who the person is by looking at what other information you provide. If you don't know where they live, at least give us their call. Where are they serving? What their pastor in such a community and such a church? We will try to always validate your ballot. Do as much as you can ahead of time, or even give us close. Give us the state they reside in. The more information you can provide in those spaces within limits, the better off we are to find out who you're voting for, and we will do everything we possibly can to make sure your vote counts.
Thank you, Ed. Is there anything else related to the video that we need to address before moving on? Okay. Next, I'd like Mr. George Freestone, who is the team coordinator for pre-assembly information gathering and dissemination related to the bishop's election, to talk about the Mission District caucuses.
Thank you very much, Bishop. I know that we've been providing a lot of information to you today. I have just one item I want to leave you with. One important item that relates to Saturday, October 24th, in particular, the morning session, the 9:30 to 11:45 session, plenary 4. That day will not start as a large group. Instead, it will start as separate gatherings by mission districts, the caucuses that the bishop talked about. So your mission district dean or the meeting facilitator for that mission district will see that you get Zoom links for how to join that specific mission district caucus. Additionally, I think the Synod website is going to be able to capture that information for all mission districts, as well as I think what we want to do is err on the side of sharing that information and making it easy for people to join those mission district caucuses. So the main point, the one point that I wanted to leave you with, in addition to all the other points, was that on that Saturday morning, October 24th, the 9:30 to 11:45 session will start as a mission district session. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, George. And finally, back to Ed Cool, co-chair of the Elections Committee, with some final matters regarding voting and LUMI.
You saw the video, and only one thing I'll mention about the video: when they were putting in the call, they were just putting in the word pastor. We want you to put in the location that is to see pastor, or not even pastor, but where the person is serving. That helps us to identify it. And aside from that, as long as you do as much homework as you can, get the spelling of the name right. Please use the first name on the first ballot, not the nickname, if you know it. We'll try to figure out the nickname if that's all you have. And of course, the location, as we said, wherever you think they're living, that helps us out. But also, of course, if it's from out of the Synod and you have it, an email address. We'll seek to get that if we don't have it, if you don't know it. But the more information you can provide, the easier it is for us to validate your ballots and complete the reports back. And again, to all pastors, you may be nominated, and if that's not where your discernment says you should be serving, you will need to remove your name by sending back a removal letter to us. That'll all be on the website, or you'll get those copies. Other voting, it's just a matter of when the vote comes up for the other ballots, you just select the name. Again, as I mentioned several times before, on the second ballot, the names are listed in numerical order of the number of votes they received. So to find your person you're voting, please check to see how many votes they received. That'll help you find it on the ballot. That's all I have, and back to you, Bishop.
All right, thank you, Ed, very much. Well, we have talked to the folks who have been, who are among those who are working very diligently to make sure we are as prepared as possible for this online assembly. And now we have the opportunity to respond to any questions that may have come up in chat or any questions that you want to raise now. Be advised, if you raise them now, you need to be patient so that we can find you on the screen.
We've covered this a number of times, but someone is asking again for clarification if it's possible for two people to vote on one computer. So whether Ed or Chris or someone can address the fact that while it's possible, it could be challenging. So someone speak to that.
Yeah, it's a tech question, so I can answer that. And then Ed, you can make sure I don't mess up the voting side. You can, if two people are sitting watching on the same computer, they're both voting members, you can vote from, one person can vote from the computer that you're watching from, but we recommend, in fact, we say you should be required that the second person should use a phone or a smartphone or a tablet. This is again because of the time it would take to log in, log out, log in, log out. And you'll have a fixed period of time for voting. It won't be super fast. It's 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I can't remember what the time for that is. But just so that there isn't any sense of being rushed, you can vote simultaneously if one person's voting on the computer and the other person's voting on the device.
I know there's.
I think Ed has something else to say.
I know there's a question there with respect to what happens during the caucuses. The caucuses are an opportunity for the people from the Mission District to share their views with respect to the various nominees. This is between the second and third ballot. There are 7 nominees at this point in time. And it's an opportunity to discuss the nominees, say, what do you see as the strengths of a particular person, or if you have a question about a person, to talk back and forth. It's a chance to interchange ideas and thoughts. We do ask the nominees not to be a part of the caucuses.
I think we covered this too, but there's another question. Chris, could you repeat or clarify about folks using the same computer to speak at the assembly?
Yeah, I can answer both of those questions that I see there, Mike. Also, the multiple voting members using the same computer. So, and that'll get a little complicated, so I'll keep it brief and then come to the watch party session and you'll get more detailed information. But the first question is about the Lumi film saying that the only avenues were laptop or desktop. That is true. All members who are an individual voting member attending the assembly by themselves should be on a laptop or a desktop. No one can entirely attend the assembly through a tablet or a phone. You always require a laptop or a desktop to watch the assembly, listen to the assembly, and to request to speak and then to speak at the assembly. No, that's not true. To speak, you actually speak. You can request on your phone. There's as it says, that Lumi. What comes up on your phone as you're sitting here is you will get the Lumi app or the Lumi web page that has just the voting information and that screen about the resolutions and all that. This will be the machine in which you vote, and then there's a button to request to be in the speaker queue. So does that make sense? You do everything through a laptop computer or a desktop computer that involves watching, listening, and speaking. You vote and request to vote through a device. Now, if you have only a computer, you don't need a device, and you're one person, you do everything through the one computer. All the functions, watching, listening, requesting to speak, and speaking. And that's what the video addresses. It addresses the general situation, which is hopefully most of the people, which is one person, one computer. Now, at a watch party, it's a little different. You request to speak on your device, and then the watch party host or manager then unmutes the microphone on the computer where you're watching the assembly, and the person who's speaking speaks into or to the computer screen because they're seen and so you don't speak through your phone when you're at a watch party. You only vote and request to speak at a watch party. And for those who are attending watch parties and for those who are managing watch parties, we'll have those little extra bits of training for you to make sure that you can do that smoothly.
Okay. Debbie, there's a question here for the registrar, a pastor who is not serving the congregation, but who is under call to special service as a chaplain, that person has the right of voice and vote if they register.
Yes, if you're registered, you have the right of voice and vote if you're a rostered pastor on the Northeast Penn Synod. So yes.
But you have to register before midnight tonight.
Correct.
Are there any other questions either in chat or from people who are raising their hand, whether that be on your device or otherwise?
There are a couple of questions. One, someone is asking how many folks have indicated that they're going to be attending a watch party, that is, gathering together at a satellite location. How many official watch parties do we have indicated on the registration forms?
I can't answer that exactly at this point because the registration hasn't closed yet, but we were up to maybe between 20 and 25. That was a couple weeks ago, so it might be doubled by now, but like I said, I can't really answer that now.
And there's another reminder, as it says in the instruction sheet, if you have a device that computer or a laptop that allows you to participate fully in a Zoom meeting, you can use it for the assembly, which means your device has to have a microphone. It has to have a camera if you want to be seen and speak. It has to have speakers so that you can hear. And then one more time, we're going to go over the voting. If you are by yourself, you vote from your tablet. You vote for your computer from your computer or your laptop. If you're with a group of people in the same room, you are watching on that computer or that laptop or a big screen TV. But in order to vote conveniently, you will need to have an individual device, a phone or a tablet.
And I think I just want to emphasize, if this isn't becoming too simplistic, one of the reasons for the device to vote with individually in a watch party is that there will be a 2-minute limit to the time to vote. And we want everyone to have sufficient time to cast their ballot and feel comfortable that their vote is correctly submitted. Am I wrong about that? I mean,
The first ballot for Bishop, we will allow additional time because there's multiple fields to fill out. But and the second ballot for Bishop, which will have multiple names, we can leave open a little more. But other simple ballots can be executed in a matter of seconds. But for people's convenience, we're going to leave the voting open for 2 minutes. But still, we don't want to get people anxious about logging off, logging back on,
Right.
logging off, and then logging back on again if more than one person will on the same computer.
precisely.
May I ask a question?
Please.
What if you don't have anyone to nominate? Do you just skip that part?
You don't have to vote on any ballot.
Oh, okay,
Being a voting member entitles you to vote, but you're not required to vote on any matter that comes before the House.
thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Mike, this is Paul again. I do see a question about how to communicate to people who want to watch live stream. I can put its courses on the website, as I showed you earlier, on the assembly page of the website. I can also put something in e-news as we get closer to the assembly, but the burden there really is for communicators who get e-news or pastors or delegates to let other people in their congregation know they can watch live stream and where to find that.
There don't appear to be other assembly questions. We'll circle back to your devotions earlier in the meeting in response to your focus on the harvest
Yes.
and your mention of care of creation. Dawn Baxter posted an invitation in chat for a Westbrook's Mission District Creation Care Zoom meeting that will take place this coming Saturday, October the 3rd at 9 in the morning. Since I was way up in the beginning of the chat, I just reposted it here for others, for anybody who would like to participate.
Great. All right, then. It seems to me that we have come to the fullness of time with this meeting, and we can all be on our ways. Please be aware that it is possible to be in touch with folks here if questions arise that you feel you haven't been able to get an answer to. We want everyone to feel as comfortable as possible going forward in this effort.
I should have set up a question using the polling feature in Zoom to say, how many of you are more comfortable now? And how many people are more confused now than you were when you joined this meeting?
Well, we'll be mindful that,
Can I ask you a question just to clarify for something? This is funny because I'm on the planning team, but
go right ahead.
so the conference at neepsynod.org, that's going to be largely used for like technical questions, like my link doesn't work or something. Is that true, Debbie, or is there a better way to ask like registration style questions of you instead of using that link for registration questions? Or should
Yeah, it was my understanding that was going to be more of a help desk for tech questions. For other questions, it's probably best to email Kurt or me or call and leave messages here.
Okay, great. Just clarifying that for folks.
Thank you.
And there is also the info@nepsynod.org for general questions related to the assembly or other things that folks use.
Very well. Well, thank you all very much for your time. Look forward to seeing many of you at Online Assembly 2020. Go in peace, serve the Lord.